What is the price tag that North Korea puts on its military cooperation with Russia? It's sending its soldiers to fight in Ukraine, and how much will Russia pay for the privilege of not using its own conscripts? There must be a quid pro quo. And will the North Koreans actually be useful, save as cannon fodder? Join me, Jan Darash, for How We Got Here.
Ukrainian data has shown that 3,000 North Korean servicemen have arrived in Russia's Kursk region to bolster the Russian counteroffensive.
These soldiers probably arrived on the territory of the Russian Federation in early October, where they underwent preliminary training in the Eastern Military District, which lasted between 2 and 4 weeks.
Several hundred North Korean Special Forces servicemen are among the batch deployed in Ukraine. According to Estonian military, there will be more.
In total, North Korea is believed to have pledged to send between 10 and 12,000 troops to the Russian Federation, including 500 officers and 3 generals.
But the European Union does not sit with arms folded. The bloc's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, met with his South Korean counterpart, Cho Tae-yul, on Monday to discuss ways of cooperation in face of the development.
The developments in this peninsula and in Ukraine, in Korea and in Ukraine, they are far away, but they are interlinked, as you know very well, including the deployment of North Korean troops in Russia, which regrettably illustrates the importance of our shared security agenda.
South Korea said it was weighing moving to help Ukraine militarily in response to North Korea's deployment. In this context, Ukraine has been increasingly becoming a turf for the Asian rivals' proxy war. The benefits Pyongyang may reap from its involvement is combat experience that could be used in a potential armed conflict with South Korea. Some analysts suggest that Kim Jong-un may want food assistance, financial support, but first and foremost advanced missile technology in exchange for the deployment. This would help Pyongyang to bring its ballistic capabilities to another, much more threatening level. Last week, North Korea tested a huge cutting-edge, solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile. Recently, the country conducted another test of a missile, just hours before voting opened in the US presidential election. But the top beneficiary of Pyongyang's involvement is Russia, which has enjoyed arms deliveries from North Korea worth an estimated $5.5 billion since Moscow invaded Ukraine in 2022. With the North Korean servicemen on the battlefield, the efficiency of the said weaponry may increase.
Our guest today is Stankomir Niczeja. He's an associate professor at the University of Opole here in Poland. Well, welcome to the programme.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation.
Great to have you. First of all, about this North Korean contingent that's been coming over, or this is in the frontline area, shall we say. Can you tell us about the numbers and the quality of troops that have been lent? It seems to be like a Condor Legion of, Cubans in Angola in the 1970s, a gift from one dictator to another.
Yes, it's a curious, but I think at the same time a very precious gift to Vladimir Putin, but also this ability to take part in the war in Ukraine is also, I think, even greater gift to Kim Jong-un, because from the status of a country that is an international pariah, it once again enters our attention, becomes something that we have to take account of. We will see what is the quality of the forces sent. That is estimated, the estimates number it at about 10,000 troops, but we know that it can easily be scaled up.
A couple of brigades, a division size.
So I think that as far as troops are concerned, this is mainly symbolic presence. I think much more important is the support that Vladimir Putin gets from North Korean weapons industry, the steady supply of munitions, of missiles, but also the capacity to produce tanks. They may not be the most advanced. Certainly, they are quite obsolete. But if we are talking about numbers, about volume of those tanks, this is something that can change the conditions, and this is something that the European Union, allies, NATO is very afraid of. It may seem a little bit ridiculous to be afraid of North Korea, this pariah state that is dealing with, or it is resting its power on obsolete arms, but in such a fragile environment as Ukraine is today, even small numbers, and especially logistical support, that is important for Russia, may change the outcomes.
So it's the idea of 10,000, a force of 10,000, is an age of mass. So we know that North Korea can produce millions and millions of rounds of ammunition, artillery ammunition. These tanks you mentioned, obsolete tanks, but yet there are lots of them. It's a war. The war of mass has returned to Europe. We seem to have understood it, but we don't seem to have replied to that in terms of producing our own stuff.
Because replying to such a new challenge is not easy. It takes years. We've basically run down our defense industry. It produces very few planes. They may be most advanced. They may be high-tech devices, but as it turns out, volume is important. So North Korean advantage is this ability they have. They're basically a Cold War industry.
Yes.
That it doesn't even need to be geared towards a war effort. It's already within that kind of war mode. And also, this is an opportunity for Kim Jong-un's regime to test their tactics, to see their soldiers in real combat, not only in theory. So this is also a very important experience that they will be getting. They will be getting experience in real combat on the real battlefield. So the advantages for the North Korean side are huge. They become an important partner of a major strategic power in the world, become visible, and they are able to state their presence on the international stage. But also they gain crucial experience, and also in return we may be sure that this obsolete technology may be aided by Russian engineers, Russian experts that may help North Koreans to produce more advanced weapons, to refine their production, to make those obsolete tanks a little bit more challenging for modern Western NATO equipment.
It seems a very brutal thing to say, but given the attrition rates on the Ukrainian front, 1,000 casualties a day, it's been estimated at 1,000 casualties a day. 10,000 North Koreans could easily die in a couple of weeks. But you'll have the survey teams and the assessment teams.
I understand that this is just the first installment of those troops. I believe this number can be very easily augmented and very fast. So we don't know the character of the troops. We'll have to wait for actual combat. The most serious theory is that they are sent to fight in the Kursk region to help Putin retake the Russian land that is so embarrassing for the Russian government. So they'll be sent to this particular region to fight and engage Ukrainian forces, while the Russian army can focus on the Donetsk, Luhansk, and the south of the Ukrainian front. So it makes sense, we may say, militarily and strategically. Such a deployment and such an involvement makes sense, where all the sides benefit substantially, and it is easy to see those benefits.
Last question on the European front. It must be a symbolic blow to the pride of Russia to get foreign troops to liberate its own territory.
You may put it that way, but also it may show that Russia is not alone, that it has allies, that it can count on its friends in need. So I don't think that Russian propaganda of Vladimir Putin will feel particularly humiliated. They will work to their own advantage. So I think the problem is isolation, and I hope we will not see, for example, Iranian soldiers fighting in Ukraine as well. But such a scenario may also be within our imagination. So from a regional conflict, we see a true escalation of this into a true global war, the Third World War, if things develop as they develop now.
We seem to be already there. What are the pressures that the Kim regime is putting on its region, South Korea, China, the region of Asia as a whole?
Certainly, this involvement is making the Chinese side enormously uncomfortable. There are speculations that Kim Jong-un didn't even bother to inform the Chinese side of his plans. So any closer ties with Russia and Korea, North Korea, may worry the Chinese, because Kim Jong-un has already caused a lot of problems to the Chinese. But the Chinese,
in terms of what? What is he?
First of all, those tests of the strategic rockets, plans to test nuclear weapons. This introduces instability into the region, tensions, while China desperately craves stability to focus on the economy. Such moves, such tensions, especially between a major partner of China, that is South Korea, and South Korean economy, they don't want the further tensions. They rather need South Korean technology cooperation for the development of Chinese business. So North Korea is taking advantage of its unique status. Officially, they are friends. North Korea, its asset as a country is that it provides China with a buffer zone. So without North Korea, China would have a border with a major ally of the United States, would have American troops and bases directly over its border. So they are ready to pay any price to basically take any humiliation in order to preserve the status quo. And the survival of the North Korean state is strategically important for China. And, of course, the North Koreans know it, so they don't have to worry too much about the Chinese reaction, and they are playing with the Chinese side in this way. So escalation in the war in Ukraine is also further destabilization of the European market. The Chinese want to develop their businesses. They want to sell goods to Europe. So their landmark project, Belt and Road Initiative, is hugely disrupted by this war. Basically, the railway line that connects China to Europe has been stopped because of the conflict. So, of course, trains are coming from China, and they are leaving Poland to China as well. But the plans were much bigger, and as long as the war is developing in Ukraine, those plans are significantly thwarted. So it is not in the interest of China, it may seem, that this conflict escalates into a global conflict, that it starts to involve North Korea, South Korea. This is not something that is neither positively seen here from the perspective of Warsaw, nor from the perspective of Beijing.
This axis of evil, you alluded to the possibility of Iranian troops entering the fray. The axis of evil was coined by George W. Bush 20-odd years ago. It didn't really exist as a formalized set of countries that have a common goal. He just seemed to pick these countries at random. But now they do exist, don't they? North Korea, Iran, Russia, perhaps China.
Once again, not in a formal sense, They're united by a common enemy, by a common adversary that is the United States and the wider West. But certainly the United States is the force that unites those countries. In other circumstances, for example, China and Russia have very divergent interests, and they also compete in a number of areas. But the bigger threat of American challenge, the pressure that American politicians, American businesses put on both Russia and China, this unites. And of course, Iran has been in this place much earlier, so they may be even some kind of supporters, teachers, leaders, because they've been living under sanctions for more than 3 or 4 decades now. So this is a coalition, not in a formal sense, but coalition as like most the strongest coalitions.
Coalition of convenience.
They are a coalition of convenience united by one but very significant threat, at least from their perspective.
Well, I suppose we shouldn't, given the world being what it is, we shouldn't be surprised at these national contingents being farmed out, subcontracted to other countries. So we'll keep an eye on what happens to the North Koreans in Ukraine. Professor Nichea, thank you very much for coming onto the programme.
Thank you very much.
So that's all we have time for today. Join us next time for How We Got Here.